Welcome to the Life Is podcast, where creativity, culture, mindset, and intentional living come together through real conversation. I'm your host, Coy Brown. Each week, I sit down with entrepreneurs, artists, athletes, travelers, and visionaries who didn't stumble into a life they love, they built it. We go deep into how they think, how they reconstructed themselves, and what became possible on the other side. This is not just about what people have accomplished. It's about the internal work that made it sustainable. Because when you build from the inside out, life expands. Let's get into it. This week, I'm sitting down with someone who has been working with the soil, literally, since before most people in his field knew what to call what he was doing. Christopher Epps grew up in Mississippi running a landscape business as a kid before he was old enough to drive. He was competing in FFA, agricultural policy, and marketing competitions in middle school. He played college football on a full federal USDA scholarship that covered everything because he understood early on that the land and the systems that govern it were where real change lives. He is now a soil conservationist for the Natural Resource Conservation Services, the NRCS, working with private landowners in Brunswick, Georgia. He has helped farmers reduce their pesticide spending from $200,000 to $50,000 in a single season. He has worked as a policy analyst on the 2023 Farm Bill. He lobbied the state capitol for educational funding before most people his age were thinking about policy. And he is now planning a nonprofit to bring AI and aquaculture education to the youth in his community, because he refuses to let the next generation get left behind by the technology reshaping the industry they are growing up in. What Christopher represents is something that the show returns to again and again, that the most coherent lives are not accidents. They are built quietly, consistently, from the ground up by people who have always known what they cared about and refuse to stop building toward it. Here's what that actually looks like from the inside. All right, well, good afternoon, and welcome back to another episode of the Life Is podcast, hosted by myself, Coy Brown. And today, with the pleasure of sitting down with Christopher Epps. He is a soil conservationist, USDA scholar, policy analyst, FFA leader, college athlete, former college athlete, agriculture innovator, and a youth educator from Brunswick, Georgia. And I'm super excited to have him on the show. And without further ado, Chris, man, welcome to the Life Is podcast. And most importantly, man, how you feeling?
I'm feeling great, Coy. I want to thank you for inviting me on this show today. And I'm looking forward for the amazing questions and discussion that we're going to have today.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. I'm excited. I know it's been some time coming. We talked offline a couple months ago, so I'm personally excited. I hope those tuning in, whether it's on YouTube or just listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, will be excited to hear kind of your journey, what you've done within this experience that you've done so far, and showing people what internal coherence kind of looks like from your perspective. So, with that being said, if kind of kick it off here, if you can, for everyone just meeting you, right, tuning in, can you kind of tell people who Christopher Epps is, where you came from, what you're doing in this world right now, and what brought you up to this specific moment?
Yeah, so I'm from Port Gibson, Mississippi, a small town located in Mississippi. Probably a population of around 6,000 of people, citizens in that county, in our city.
Mm-hmm.
County-wise, probably around 15,000 to 10,000 people. So that's a small town in Mississippi. Grew up there basically all my life.
Yeah.
I went to high school in Port Gibson High School. I played football at Port Gibson High School. Then I went to collegiate level at Alcorn State University, which is a kind of a unique school. It's in the woods, so we're not the closest Walmart is around 1 hour away, man. Probably,
Dang.
yeah. The closest gas station is Port Gibson, actually, which is my beautiful town, 15 minutes away. The
Yeah,
reason
I
I
didn't know that.
chose the reason I chose that school, Alcorn State University, was because it's an ag school, and I'm pretty much big in ag. Had some roots and started around middle school. I joined the local FFA chapter, which is the Future Farmers of America chapter. There was a new chapter when I first joined, and that was my first time learning about agriculture, like
Yeah,
chickens. I was afraid to touch a chicken around. I was
I don't
probably
blame you.
2 years old, afraid to touch a chicken. But right now, I'm kind of raising my chickens, helping a farmer right now to raising chickens. It's crazy how it evolved over the years. But I
Mm-hmm.
fell in love with FFA, started my own mowing business, and that's kind of got me with nurturing land and trying to take care of land.
Yeah.
Land is it doesn't. We're not going to have any more land. Like this is all God gave us. So
Mm-hmm.
it's great to take care of God's property, grows land, and enhance the wildlife and to help feeding the nation by uh, giving these landowners, which is our American farmers, the right resources they have. So currently,
Absolutely.
right now, work for the Natural Resource Conservation Services under the United States Department of Agriculture, USDA, and I help small to large scale landowners kind of give them efficiency on their farm by providing them conservation practices that will support not only them but nurture our property, our American soil, which we
Hmm.
really definitely need. And if you don't know, kind of how our organization started, the NRCS, this entity within the federal government started, happened during the Dust Bowl when our farmers kept tilling and tilling the land and not even contributing back to the native seeds of the soil. And what happened is this one Sunday, uh, our founder
Yeah.
of our organization went to Congress's steps and told them to look over in the sky, and they were all the way in Washington, D.C. All this dust came from the Midwest flying over the hills of Capitol Hill,
Crazy.
and this how our organization, the NRCS, have got its birth. So I'm amazed. I'm glad to talk about what I do, why I do it with you today, and get to know some things about you as well, and why you're drawn to this work and picking
Yeah.
coming up with these great and amazing podcasts that you do, Koi.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Thanks for sharing. I'm excited because it's when we spoke, man, you're really passionate about what you do. And we need people in your field who are passionate, right? Not just like, hey, I do this for a job or a career, but like I have invested interest. I want to make sure the world, the land, the soil is in a better state than when I got into it. And I think, as we're in 2026, it's actually July of 2026. So there's this conversation around, soil, carbon, methane, nitrogen, all these things that can affect the air quality, the soil quality, right? All these things I think are becoming more important. People in the field, in your field, people in other businesses. So it's important, right? I think getting back to our farmers and helping them the best way they can, because I'm sure you're aware, and many people kind of in this field, that farmers kind of get the backhand, right? They're forgotten about, and not a lot of resources or tools to help them really thrive, because that's the starting point of our food, those regenerative practices that you're going to be talking about later in the podcast. And that's becoming more, I don't even want to say acceptable, but more recognized and more practiced. That's more important. So no, I appreciate the introduction, kind of setting the floor for people who to kind of see, who you are, where you came from, and kind of what you're doing. So I'm gonna gotta take it back here. We're gonna kind of go back to your childhood and kind of start from the beginning. But you said you're from Mississippi, so kind of take me back to Mississippi. You were running a landscape business as a kid, and most kids at that age, you and myself, are probably thinking about recess or sports. We weren't thinking about running a business, unless your parents told you so. But where did that kind of instinct come from, and like, what were you actually learning while you were doing that, like landscape business? Before we jump back in, I want to take a quick moment to highlight one of our community partners for the podcast, the St. Joe County Public Library. We're proud to team up with them because of everything they pour into our local community, and they've got some great things coming up on the horizon. So, one quick thing for anyone local. If you haven't looked at the St. Joe County Public Library's event calendar lately, you really should. They've got so much more than people realize. Everything from story times and hand-on activities for kids to teen events, workshops, author talks, book clubs, and free resources for adults. It's honestly one of those things where there's almost certainly something valuable happening right down the street from you, and you just haven't checked yet. Head over to sjcpl.org/events to see what's coming up. And now, let's get right back to the episode.
Yeah, Koi. So that's a good question. So when I was a little boy, I was active. Well, it was either football or being in academics because my dad came from a football family. Uncle, almost it was almost there at the. Well, he got accepted to the NFL. Play with Steve McNair, well, at Alcorn State University.
Okay, what's
My
up?
dad played football, so I kind of grew up in a big side of my dad family. Football is the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
Mom is an educator, so she's like, you can
Getting the
play
books.
football, but you got to get in them books too. You
Yep.
got to get some A's and B's, no C's. So I kind of
Right.
grew up with those parents, but also my mom said, "A man that don't work is a man that don't eat." So
Yep.
kind of was had that in my mindset as well. So it was football and landscaping, and did a little bit of powerlifting as well in high school. But wanted to have some entrepreneurship. I didn't want to work for someone when I was in high school and then playing football.
Mhm.
I wanted to be on my own schedule, but also be on the football team schedule too. So that was
Right.
kind of like a middle ground. Like I can cut grass. I can make some money. The money is easy. It's gonna be a lot of hard work, but the money is easy. I'm doing something that I like. So I had a couple clients at first. My neighbor, two of my neighbors and my church as well.
Mhm.
So that was my first set of client lists, and it kind of grew after that, Koi. And what I enjoyed the most, at first, it was about okay, I'm getting this check. I can put this in my savings account. I'm doing good. But over time, it was like I'm really like nurturing someone's property to make these landowners. They're landowners too. They own this land, so I'm making them happy. Like I did something for
Mhm.
them. I did something for me, but I also did something for the land because what if they didn't have a landscaping person? This grass would be just grow it up, weed it up, and what is it helping? Like we're just having unused land and it's all grown up.
Yeah.
Without serving a purpose, it's there, but it's not actually serving a purpose because nobody is tending to that land. And if you want to put it in this perspective, nobody's tending the soil. And that's what we kind of need to do in America. If you have zero point 0.5 acres, zero point 0.2 acres, you can tend that soil. And that kind of retrofits to being a small farmer versus a big farmer in America. So, any
Mhm.
type of soil you have, any type of land you have, you can convert that property, that land, to something. If you're trying to do something, if you want to do something in that particular property,
Yeah.
but that's why I kind of fell in love with Koi. So, 10, my client list started growing a little bit around high school, became a senior, and college. But still play football, and on the weekends, when I had time, I had a bunch of clients as well. So I've managed that. My landscaping company started around high school and it kind of ended around my senior year of college. Wish I could. I was. I moved. Then I moved to here in Brunswick, so I kind of cut that out, that the landscaping business out, which is a good. Like I said, it was a good job gig, side job gig, and it,
Yeah.
it taught me a lot. It taught me a lot of stuff. It taught me discipline. It taught me how to take care of myself and be a hard worker because it's truly once you see your work and when people keeps complimenting you on your work, it makes me like like I said, tend to people's property and think about people's property very differently. So every time I cut someone's grass, it didn't. How people want to go take 10 minutes, 15 minutes on somebody's grass, weed eat, get out to the next
Mhm.
yard. No, I spent hours on people's yards because it was me by myself, but I made sure that
Yeah.
their yard, everything was weeded, everything was mowed, everything, the grass was cut to from a different design and
Yeah.
everything. So I just thought about that, and that kind of has driven me across the years that it may not be my land, but it's our
It's so
land in the
important.
world, so it's important. So that's why I take care. That's why I fell in love with land, man, and I'm very
Yeah, absolutely.
infatuated. And like, I got to give me a couple of thousand acres when I get that. When I, I hit that
Yeah,
jackpot,
exactly.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's kind of what I did. Started my landscaping business and how I've been, how I started. When I was
Yeah.
little. Yeah,
No,
yeah.
it's amazing, man, at a young age, because like I said, I was not, I wouldn't have been thinking like that, but just hearing you articulate how you really looked at it from a bigger purpose, like, you're like, "Look, yes, you're making money. Yes, they're getting their yard done, but beyond that, you're tilling, right? You're taking care of the land." Like you're saying, there's actually a purpose, almost in a sense, a spiritual realm of like, um, I don't know, there's some type of end result that, hey, this is important to take care of, right? To till this land and make sure that it's getting taken care of, that it's being utilized in the right way and getting manicured in the right way, beyond just a transaction. I guess maybe what I'm getting at. So to have that type of thinking at that age, it sounds like it's transcended. into what you're doing now, which we'll get to later in the podcast. But just having that focus and that awareness, essentially, to know that there's more than just you're doing more than just quote unquote landscaping, cutting grass. Um, there's more to it. So very much appreciate the story there. I want to move because as you were in high school, right, and before you went to college, you were competing in FFA, right, agriculture policy, in marketing
Yes.
competitions in middle school, which is once again not your typical extracurricular activity in high school. You told me that was pretty interesting. What kind of drew you into that world so young, and like what did those competitions teach you about how agriculture and policy and communication actually connect those three things?
Yes, yes. So, what kind of drew me at FFA, man? Like I said, my mom was a teacher, educator, kind of in that administrative. She started off as a science teacher and
Yeah.
got an administrative role in the school. So she kind of knew about this program, this new agriculture program that we were getting. So we were getting a new ag teacher, new ag program within our career and
Mm-hmm.
technical center. So. Uh, when we first got that program, my mom said, "Hey, listen, I have something organization you can start. You can do. You can get you can get an FFA. Meet the ag teacher because listen, ag is where it's at." And at
Yeah.
first, I was like, "I don't want to do this. I don't like ag.
Yeah.
I'm into politics." But later on, and we'll talk about this. It's ag and policy and politics
Yeah.
meets together. I mean, ag is everything basically. So yeah, I joined the FFA, Future Farmers of America. I started as a vice president um, in the middle school junior club or organization, and afterwards did some competitions when I was a junior FFA member.
Mhm.
One of the competitions was the extemporaneous public speaking. And in that competition, we had to talk about different ag issues. They gave us different topics we can choose from, and we had
Right.
around 30 minutes to write our speech and 20 minutes to deliver.
Dang.
And I can remember I was outside. I did my speech, brought my ag books, and then if I can recall, the question was about how what youth. It was about agriculture and youth and the importance of having youth in agriculture.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I wrote about that and how uh, I told my story, and the person I met, which is an ag teacher, Miss Dr. Carla Turner Bailey, which is an amazing woman, and a big mentor of mine. So I talked about her how it starts out with mentorship with in ag, and
Mhm.
people think about ag. They think, oh, there's somebody that's working on a pig farm, somebody just taking care of cows, but it's really more into ag. You have ag finance you can get into. My
Mhm.
cousin majoring in agriculture economics. Now she's working for Netflix.
Wow.
So, and then
Yeah.
you have ag communications, ag plant and soil science. It's so much into
More.
the ag. It's just basically you're throwing agriculture in this, but you have these sub majors or sub concentrations, which really is across the whole world. Business it spans for business, politics, ag,
Mhm.
laws. So I mean, ag is pretty big. So, but it starts with that mentor to tell you that, like, it start and kind of Turner Bailey, Dr. Bailey, she taught me a lot of stuff and taught me open up my mind about agriculture. So it's just not about. I learned that in high school. It's not about working on a farm or taking care of animals. It's bigger than that.
Mhm.
So she really opened my mind up. And that speech when I competed in middle school that kind of poured out that, and the judge, he gave me some pointers afterwards and said, "Hey, this is amazing," and I'm very pumped that we have people like you that are interested in ag and want to take our jobs because they're going to retire eventually
Mhm.
and take our positions and drive this industry where it's supposed to be. And I won first place, and then we did a
Okay.
marketing competition as well at the state level uh, to pitch one of my ideas of my SAE, which is a supervisory agriculture experience. I
Yeah.
think we talked about this, Coy, with my barbecue business. So I started a
Yeah.
little bit of
Yeah.
side barbecue business on the side of my lawnmower business.
Yeah.
So started one day. We had some seasonings and some ketchup, and I'm not gonna tell you my seasonings I put in there, but yeah, I can tell you the base
Secret.
how to make barbecue. But we had some ketchup and some brown sugar, and one day I just mixed it, wrote everything down, and my dad was like, "Yeah, we got to use this for my
Yeah.
competition." We used that barbecue for his competition. We won a lot of awards that day. So uh,
Yeah.
I love that, and it all started with FFA and Dr. Carla Turner Bailey for helping and guiding me throughout my path of this learning about this industry. So yeah,
Mhm.
FFA is um, very important. And the way, like this weekend, I was at a little bit of a conference with Farm Bureau, and it was a lot of young farmers and ranchers at
Mhm.
this competition. And one of the things we have to do as a society, like I said, is just better communicating this industry to people, especially young folks. You know, we have majority of people it's in ag is their grandparents. They grow up on a farm. They know about the farming industry, which is great. We have professionals, but some people like me, there's a lot of folks at that conference was like, I didn't grow up on a farm, but I felt
Mhm.
I like this industry and I want to learn. And if we could just market this industry to the world and to the youth, it it's the world is the sky's the limit. I mean, like I said, it's so much into the ag industry. I can't even name the sub concentrations of how
Yeah.
important it is. I'll be all day. You'll be like, wow, it's this much,
Yeah.
it's this much
Yeah,
into
I
it. But
agree.
yeah,
I agree, man. I think it's important because, I went to school kinda in a farm area, and you think FFA, you think just like, farmers, tractors, like dirty jeans, I mean, just that connotation you have, right? But like, to your point, I think it's important to set up these highways, metaphorically speaking, so you can have these, kind of, what am I trying to get? Maybe silos of information so kids who were kind of where you were at can kind of learn about it and see all this education. So I think that's the missing piece for a lot of these industries, especially ag and kind of green industries. Is like there's just one image and there's so much more beneath it. And the missing piece is the marketing. A lot of it is the education to say, hey, there's more than just this one silo. There's so much across the board. Where would you want to fit in, right? So, yeah, I definitely agree. Setting up that bridge for young folks can be really, really important. And I think from maybe my perspective, I think because I'm a millennial, I see people my age, even your age, in our same cohort, who I- who I would assume my assumption just by kind of looking across the board is that it's becoming more important to this kind of cohort, or this age group, that they want to make a difference. They understand the importance of like making sure things are, kind of organic, or where's the sourcing coming from. They want to make sure they're getting healthy ingredients in food. So I think that's coming more I wouldn't say on demand, but just more important all around from my point of view. So I don't
yes,
know.
yes, yeah. I kind of agree with you with that. Um, I mean, we have the importance of eating healthy is very important these days,
Mhm.
especially with the way of how we're processing food and we have a growing society as well. So I'm kind of in this class right now, in my certificate course, global leadership certificate course right now, and we're
Yeah.
talking about how can we safely and efficiently feed this world on a global scale. So a lot of the stuff is just we have to grow. We need the farmers, we need the land, and we need the space and for to grow this society. And if it's some farmers are, some food is probably highly processed and fastly processed on the fast, especially the chicken we eat, the fruits and vegetables
Mhm.
we eat. But that's the important the thing is we're just growing as a society, so we have to attend to this and keep up with the society. Another thing we're battling with right now is just the land, all right? A lot of private business owners, private shareholders are giving farmers that thing in their head like, "Hey, we can buy this land," and if you look at
Yeah,
the cost of the operation overhead and the yield they're getting versus this offer, I mean, it's some farmers have to give it up,
yeah,
to take
exactly.
care of their families for in our future generations, so, yeah,
Yeah.
that's something that we're looking at, and, that's the big the big, cost of just trying to feed America and feed this world on a global scale is gonna it's something that we'll be looking into eventually over the years
Mhm.
as well. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's important, man. It is hard because money talks, but, farming is what's the word I'm looking for? But land specific, as you know, all land's different, but farming it's gotta be land, so if we're eating it up, it's gonna be hard to scale and feed all these billions of people, not even just the US, but across the world. And that's, I think, the unfortunate thing. I think a lot of people are seeing, yourself probably included, these private enterprises, governmental even too, to certain extents, trying to buy up land and use it for developing when really we should be, tending to it and keeping it sacred. So absolutely. Actually, I was curious too, on your FFA competitions, was there ever like a moment that you were actually I don't know, maybe that showed that you were actually capable of, like a moment where it actually clicked, like, oh, like I can do this. Like I know I know what I'm talking about. I can do this.
Yeah, so, like, in this field, is I'm definitely a grower and a very a learner as well, so every day I learn, so the moment that clicked to me when I was like, "Okay, this is what I wanna do," is really my senior year of high school, so I was honing down on what I like the most, and it was really the plants and the trees and doing a identification of the different
Mhm.
wildlife plantings and everything. So I kind of fell in love with that, and it came to a point. It was a competition I did. It was called. It was a horticulture competition, and it was a competition you had to do plant identification on the different plants, and then build I guess a floral type of design and
Yeah.
do some more landscaping intervals for that competition. And, I did it pretty well on my test when it came to, uh, identifying the different plants, and so it kinda honed down, I was like, "I can do this." I kinda felt
Mhm.
confident and honed down to I can do plant and soil science in college. Even though I was thinking about political science uh,
Right.
and policy, I was like, "Let me do ag, let me understand ag, and we can learn about the policy either in college or after
Mhm.
college, do possibly law school whenever I graduate. Let me first take down his basics, learn this field because I can probably really strive in this field and become something. And that's when I was in high school and I learned about a lot of greats in this field in my hometown. So a lot of people that work with United States Department of Agriculture were already in top heavy
Yeah.
executive positions. So I was like, listen, they're doing their thing. I could be like him, be like them, or as they say, be better than them because they've
Exactly.
already built that bridge. So now it's time for me to drive that bridge and keep building it for the future generations uh, after me. So, yeah,
Mhm.
that's I felt like when I did that competition, kind of like this field, and that's what kind of got me into this field of plant and soil science. And I think we discussed this as well. I applied for a scholarship, and after around the high school time, it was the United States Department of it's the 1890 scholarship, which kind of provided a full scholarship to young folks that's going into the ag field. And I applied for it in high school, and I didn't. I didn't get it the first time I applied, but later on in college, I applied
It
and
came back around.
uh, got turned it back around in one semester and got it. I'm grateful for the scholarship for take it has scholarship and fellowship has definitely took care of me my undergrad year and provided me a job position within the United States Department of Ag. Yeah.
Absolutely, man. I love it. I was gonna say too, another important key thing before I go to my next question was like it's important, I think, for people like you to go into ag and understand kind of ground level and then move to policy. Not saying you have to go that route, but just the identification as you're speaking for those who are tuning in, because I think a lot of people miss, and I say people, I think a lot of people in policy are so disconnected, right? It's kind of like a C-suite level versus management or kind of your employees. You miss, they're so, far away that farmers or people on that end are trying to say this is what we need, but the policymakers are so far removed they don't know or can't even relate, right? So I think that's an awesome blend that you have, that you want the ag route, then say, hey, let me go to policy, so I can be that kind of bridge between both. I can speak the farmers' language and speak this policy language when it comes to setting policy. So I wanted to just to point that out, which is awesome. Going to my next question here, Chris, man, you played obviously college football, Alcorn State, received a full federal USDA scholarship that covered your undergrad, which you just talked about, your undergrad studies, and including internships. That combination, right, the athlete and the agriculture scholar, I would say is kind of unusual. Honestly, that's something that I've never really kind of came across of. And I got a lot of buddies, I'm sure you, that are also in football, so it's kind of unique to see that. But how did those two identities coexist for you, right? And what did one, and what did each one kind of teach you that the other couldn't? If that
Yeah,
makes sense.
so that was a good question, Corey. So I already know that football is all about discipline. So I had a
Yep.
set schedule whenever I started, and as a freshman, well, started my freshman career as a football player. The summer we did. I started off doing the summer practices and fall practices,
Yeah.
but still had there was a disciplined time schedule. So this time I had to wake up, and if we missed, like if we
Yeah.
could be 1 minute late, and football, so that's
Yep.
discipline time right
If
there.
you're on
So
time, you're late.
it's
You
not
better
right,
quit.
right. So it's 10 minutes before, 15 minutes before what we got going on the schedule. And listen, you gotta make it. So football was that discipline era of my time at Alcorn State University, and also this had accountability brothers as well. So uh,
Hmm.
just that's why we kind of like had our freshman year. We were so tight knitted as a team that
Yeah.
the freshman was just bonding with the seniors. Everybody was just bonding with each other. We had that team
Yeah.
bonding, and also that competitive spirits as well. Because coach didn't care if you was a freshman, sophomore, senior. If you was a freshman better than a senior, you taking this man
Yeah.
position when it
Stepping
comes
up.
to D line. So it's whoever doing the work and being the most productive. If you know your plays, you get on the field. So
Battles. Yeah.
yeah, that's what I loved about college football. It kind of reminded me of high school. I started in high school freshman year to senior, so it was something I had something to prove. So freshman year college, it was just something to prove, but also I still had the academic Chris at high school, Chris and me. I had the academics is important too. So I kind of had it. I want to say you know, how football players get. We kind of have it
Yeah.
good as a football player. Uh, so telling
You're
professors, "Oh,
not.
y'all play football." I mean, it was just a little bit of slack, but it was still kind of hard on me because they saw potential when I
Yeah.
spoke up in class, and I'm never a class clown. I'm always participating in class and always talking to my professors. That's one
Hmm.
thing it kind of helped me with striving in academics and still doing good in football my year as a freshman
Yeah.
because I had that conversations with the professors. Every time they taught in class, I was participating. I was not just back there
Engaged.
playing around. And I was
Yeah.
engaged. I was engaged in class. So that kind of like helped me a little bit in college. I was very uh, you know, well-rounded and
Yep.
just that was just a good I was just that versatile type of guy as a freshman. So that was kind of my freshman year. As a freshman, we also had COVID. So
Hmm.
spring year, well, spring semester, I was crossing, becoming an alpha as part of that fraternity as a freshman, and COVID happened, so they sent us all home for that. So
Yeah.
it was kind of the start of that COVID season.
Crazy.
But that year was crazy that it was 2020, so that year kind of brought me a lot of rewards. I crossed alpha uh,
Yep.
as
What's
a
up?
freshman. Then applied for this college 1890 scholarship. and received it. So, and I passed organic chemistry, which is a hard class. Organic
Mhm.
chemistry is no joke. So,
Chemistry in general.
uh, chemistry in general. Well, I like chemistry 1, chemistry 2, I like, well, organic, I didn't like that. It was it was talk. First week of class, he lost me. But,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it was
So I'm
it
saying
was
that's
a
how they
good
do.
one. It was just hard, man. But,
Yeah.
yeah, so that's kinda how my freshman year turned out, but I was
Yeah,
just
man, I
really
love it.
being focused and getting
Um,
my name out there.
yeah, I was gonna say, man, I was jokingly, man, as I'm hearing you, man, obviously you're very attuned, very engaged, very you apply yourself right in the classroom. But I was joking in my back of my head that your mom being an educator, I'm sure definitely was that voice, make sure that hey, you were in them books and making sure that hey, football is gonna end one day, but you need to have this degree, right? You need to make sure that you got this in your pocket. So sounds like you're obviously doing your thing. I want to kind of jump forward here, kind of switch gears, kind of talking about really your point in regulation and just your own agency, kind of about the soil and your work at NRCS. Um, so of course you're a soil conservation and for NRCS, the Natural Resource Conservation Services. For those who may have forgot what that abbreviation was, but most people have never heard of the agency, right? It's still trying to break the obscurity, if you will, when it comes to who you are, what you do. Can you kind of take a moment, kind of explain what it actually does, and maybe not the government version, more kind of like just like the human version of what you do, and what does your work look like on the ground? If you can.
Oh, yes, that's a good question. So, our agency started, it started off with the birth of the Dust Bowl. So, uh, the Dust Bowl happened around 1920s, and that's when our agency started getting developed as the Natural Resource Conservation Services. And the overall goal was to make sure that uh, private landowners, are tending to their land properly. And our goal as an agency or as soil conservationists back then, or conservationists back then, was to help landowners, give them conservation plans to continue to keep the soil in great health, right? So what I do today as a soil conservationist, or kind of my uh, day, like weekly or daily schedule, is I work with private landowners, small scale to large scale. So let's say you can have point 0.2 acres of land, point 0.1 acres of land. If you're growing vegetables, we
Hmm,
can help. If we see a
yeah,
resource concern on your property, lack of water, we can help you. We help you with that. Uh, all the way to thousands of acres of a property owner. As long as you meet the AGI, which is uh, the annual gross income, which is like a million. If you're trying to make over $1 million, we can definitely help you.
yeah.
So so no, not large corporations like Tyson or Taylor Farms, those big organizations. But as long as you're not a big entity like those, we help you. It's private landowners, right? So I kind of go over to a landowner's property, talk
Hmm.
to them, and get to listen to their goals, and get to write them up a good, nice conservation plan, which gives them structure on how to succeed on their farm, and how to keep the soil healthy, and
Right.
making sure that the animals are rotationally grazing in a good and correct way, right? If it's get recommending them the correct seeds to plant on their property, which is a lot of farmers down here do ryegrass and Bermuda grass to feed their animals, and I kind of planting those seeds, planting those grasses right there, Koi, that stops the farmer from spending money on
Hmm.
hay, instead having their animals to graze on those grasses, the ryegrass and Bermuda grass over the winter, right? So that's kind of the goals, or kind of an example of what we do to help farmers come up with a plan to save money in their pockets, but also help continue to have their farm to thrive. Because, like I said earlier, it's not
Yeah.
about it's about the landowners, about their goals, but it's also about what feeding America, right? So uh, people buy from Sam's, buy from Walmart, right? But you have some people that do grassroots, which is support their local farmers. I'm starting to go to grassroots farming
Yeah, yeah,
because
absolutely.
I mean it's definitely good. I mean, if you look at it, one of my dear friends down here in Georgia, she owns a small goat farm. Single older lady
Yeah.
has around 15 goats, and like, um, it is is I could pick whatever goat I want, you know, and
Mm,
to eat or
yeah.
what it was, and you know she'll harvest it and she'll sell me the goat that I want, and that goat is packaged up for me, processed for me, and I can
Wow.
save that for the year. So, and that's coming from a landowner that I know.
Mhm.
She's growing the goats, she's tending to the goats, and she's doing it safe and properly versus these large corporations. You don't know they have to
Yeah.
feed millions of Americans. They're trying to get the bang out of the buck.
Yeah,
So
straight to the bank, yeah.
it's so it's so importance, and that's kind of why I like my work, because I don't just necessarily work with large farmers and corporations. I work with the small farmers that loves what they're doing, not for
Mhm.
profit, but for the joy of their heart. And it's kind of like I was reading this article the other day. It was like it was telling me about a billionaire, right? He owns this penthouse in the tower, right? Um, and he said this is the only thing he owns. He doesn't own any land. He's looking over the land, but he's owning this little
Right.
10,000, 5,000 square foot penthouse. But his lady is owns a 10-acre property in a small town, rural town, and she's growing vegetables and tending to the soil. On the
Mm,
weekends, she's going to the farmers market and feeding to the community. And what she doesn't use, she stores this in her freezer quite.
yeah.
And what I liked about that is like, she yeah, one person is up here with no land, but she has this 10-acre property and really are changing some lives in that small
Exactly.
community, in a good way as well. So, that's kind of why I like what my position where I'm at. And we help farmers when it comes to grazing, vegetables, and we help a lot of forestry industry farmers, right? So a lot of folks harvest their timber and want to do reforestation and a lot of wildlife practices
Yep.
as well, which is important too because down here in Georgia, especially South Georgia, there's a lot of timber property, and you have these pine trees. You can grow them in 2026, and then in 2038, they're gonna be ready to harvest. You can plant some more trees, and it's back to back to back to back of how
Yeah.
fast these species of pine trees can grow now. So, I enjoy it. Um, I mean, I've been in the office for 3 years, and it's kinda crazy. It was
Mhm.
I recall like this. We planted, some trees in 2023 when I first started. We helped the, producer plant some trees.
Yeah.
Now the I'm 6'2" now, and it's 2026, and the tree is, like, 7 foot. I'm like, "It's crazy,
Yeah.
man. It's
Looking up
crazy."
at it.
Looking up and
Yes.
yeah, so it's amazing. I love my job, and I love to see the process and the progress of what we've been doing with the farmers around here.
Yeah, man. It's important, man. I think the biggest thing is impact. Even the analogy you kinda gave of the penthouse and the lady with the rural farm, it's impact, man. You're really giving back to the land, you're giving back to the people, and you're doing it in a way that's, beneficial and regenerative, right? And helping the planet itself also while feeding people. So I think that's the biggest thing, from all of that. Speaking of farmers though too, man, you told me, about a farmer managing, I think, 1,300 acres, which is wild, but 1,300 acres, where pesticide, whose pesticide spending went from 200,000 to 50,000, right? So you went down after implementing your conservation plan, switching from non-GMO seeds to cover crops, right? So obviously, that easy math there. It's $150,000 reduction in one season. Can you kind of just walk us through kind of how that conservation how that conservation actually happens and how you get a farmer who has been doing something one way for decades to try something, fundamentally different?
Yeah, so that's a good thing. So, uh, but pesticides companies, there's a lot of pesticide companies in this world. So they have all
Hmm.
these salesmen out here to sell pesticides. It's their job to sell it to the farmers, and uh, farmers tend to go to that particular practice or type of practice of their kind. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. All right. Yeah. It kind of disconnected for a second. Yeah. But farmers tend to go to that type of field when it comes to when it comes to taking care of their crops, and they kind of overspend money because they give these pesticides companies a bunch of money to to kill off the weeds, and
Hmm.
they could be doing a better sufficient and better conservation style versus doing spraying pesticides. Because when you spray pesticides, you're killing off the weeds, right? But if you do cover crop, right, there's
Yeah.
not going to be a lot of weed suppression because you have cover crops in between these rows. But not only do you have cover crops in between the rows, you're doing nitrogen fixation, you're putting a lot of nutrients back in the soil by planting cover crops. So with this particular farmer we were dealing with, he was spraying pesticides on all his crop fields, and giving his around 100,000 to $200,000 to this pesticide company, and
Uh,
losing millions and millions of dollars. I mean, in a span of couple years, right? So,
yeah, that's
um,
wild.
when he switched to learn about the cover crops, he tried it with some multi-species. He did 1 to 2 cover crops on his on his couple fields, and then 1 cover crop on the rest of his fields. And he saw a better yield growth because it was more of the organic matter going into his cash crops, and
Hmm.
also he saw a lot of he saw a richness in his soil too, McCoy. And it's
Yeah.
so important that he looked at the receipts and was like, okay, I spent this much on cover crops and I spent this much on pesticides, and I can really use some of these cover crops as well to sell as well. So it was just good on him, and a lesson that he learned that is important to not only do this type of conservation practice, it saves money as well. And a lot of people, a lot of farmers like to farm the old way. They've been doing this for 100
Hmm.
years. So once they start implementing these practices, at first it's kind of a headache, but then at the end of the game, at the end of the day, especially when you get some government assistance through our government programs that we offer,
Yeah.
you're pretty much on a break even, really, and kind of getting a better profit as well and a better yield. Because the most important thing that's really going to be the key word in the next 3 years as well is yield. If whoever has the best yield and whoever grows the best crops as
Yeah.
well is definitely going to be the farmer of the year. So,
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah, that
yeah,
makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. You want to make sure you have better yield, more yield and better quality of crop at the same time.
yeah.
I'm just curious too. Like, what is the most common resistance you get back? Like, obviously, that's an example. You're helping someone go from 200,000 to 50,000, right? That's a astronomical amount of savings. But what is like kind of the most common resistance you encounter when you bring conservation practices to farmers? To your point, who've been operating, let's say, 100 years conventionally, and like, what do you say to that when you kind of get that pushback?
I mean, if at the end of the day, it's the landowner's property, right? So
Right.
we've when we meet with farmers, it's really our first time on that field. If we haven't been dealing with them before, because if we dealt with them before, they were like, okay, I can do these conservation practices that you tell me to do. If it works, perfect. We can keep doing it. If it don't work, then we won't come back to your office and talk to y'all. But a lot of farmers that we deal with are farmers that we just met. So it's like, hey,
Yeah.
it's your introduction. My name is Chris. Your name is Farmer Joe. What's your goals? You want to hear this? You want to do it? Perfect. You can apply. If you don't want to do it, then we're not going to push you because I mean it's your farm,
Yeah. That's your
it's their
choice.
land, it's your choice. But if you do these conservation practices, you could definitely see a better yield. And also you're doing helping us with our job, or not basically our job, but our job as a world, which is to help tend to keep the soil amendments with, to that richness. Because if you look at it, once it rains, you have runoff on these crop fields. No,
Hmm.
unless you're in the flatland like the Delta of Mississippi, you're gonna have topography on some property, right?
Yeah.
And this runoff goes to the rivers in our watersheds, which are very
Hmm.
important because we drink water as a town, right? As a
Yep.
world, we drink water, so water is very important. So our programs, what we help with it helps the land, it helps the air, but also helps the quality of the water as well. So we implement these conservation practices when when the cover crops or the terminated cover crops, when they do the terminated cover crops, and just doing a rotation of cash crops around the different years or different
Hmm.
growing seasons, they're helping the soil and keeping the soil enriched instead of introducing the soil to the same product. I mean, it's just like that's meal prepping, right? If you meal prep the same thing every week, your stomach will say, "Wait a minute, I can't keep eating baked chicken
Eating
and
the
sweet
same
potatoes.
thing. Yeah.
We got to switch it up. We got to switch it up every year, or we just gonna be you gonna have a bad stomach. Almost gonna resist on some stuff. And that's kind of
Yeah.
how the soil is. If we keep
Good way to put it.
introducing the soil to different cash crops and different uh, plant mechanisms, then the soil is going to keep being enriched, and we want to have this. We don't have to put any more topsoil over the years, over this good soil that's been growing um, for the next 100 to 200 years.
Yeah, and you give different nutrients. To your point, your analogy, right? You only get one kind of type of nutrient, like you said, you get different cash crops. Now you can get different nutrients, different enrichment that you're missing, that your body's missing, and that kind of analogy, but from the farmland that the soil's missing, that the soil can take from that organic matter. So yeah, man, that's a good good analogy. Your agency's goal, right, is to support farmers, right, not regulate them, as you mentioned, but and really not enforce compliance, but to help them do their work better and more sustainable. Um, so obviously, it's a specific kind of service orientation, especially inside a federal agency. I guess my question here is like, what does it mean to operate in that way, and what has it taught you about how change actually moves through agricultural systems?
Yeah, so that's a good question, Koi. I feel like our agency, like I said, is non-regulatory, and this is a good thing, right? We don't have to
Yeah.
point fingers at a landowner and say, "You're doing this wrong. You're doing this wrong." No, we're their friends. We're the people that walks beside them, talks to them, and if they have any questions, we can guide them in the right direction without telling
Hmm.
them what to do. And especially, we also like to preach to them, "Hey, we are non-regulatory. We're not here to enforce nothing. We're here to help you." And that's
Right.
kind of the first thing they keep when they talk to us, especially when we meet new landowners. They're like, "Hold up, let me pause.
Yeah. Probably
I'm
hesitant.
hesitant," but once we
Fence.
talk to them, and yeah, that's kind of what they say. "Oh, y'all the feds, y'all the feds." No, we're not the feds. We work for the federal government, but I mean, we're
Yeah.
not gonna you're not gonna do nothing.
Report you.
You're on your side, right? You're on your side. So once they get that point, once we get that point across, is really we're like neighbors at the end of the day, and I like that with our agency. We get to meet these people and get to learn about them and their story of how they purchased the property, how they took care of the land, right? So the reason, I mean, I kind of see our agency uh, at, and it kind of differentiates when it comes to different administrations, right?
Yeah.
So in this administration, we're seeing a lot of changes when it comes to adding AI supplemental technology and big farm techs companies to take over ag. And it kind of like circle backs on what we talked about when getting the youth involved and trying to recruit more people into this field, right? Um, People think that ag, like I said, is just about that farming, this working on a farm and helping animals, and just doing those type of
Hmm.
activities, but it's not, right? So we do need people in that field now, But we just need to get people. We just need at this point we need to have a recruitment level to at least have a 10,000, thousands of 10,000s of young folks to get into this field, right? Because if we don't, then people and congressmen are going to find a way to,
Hmm.
or not even going to find a way. They're going to implement AI in some type of manners, right? And you can implement AI in agriculture in type of ways with the, if you can see the tractor, uh, we came so far with the tractor. It used to be just a manual system, but now they
Yep.
have computers. They have self-driving tractors. You have to have a person in it, but later, I mean,
Operates.
if you wait a couple more years from now, it's gonna have a tractor that's driving by itself, which are expensive pieces of equipment. But if we have big companies taking over our land and just capitalizing on that, then you're gonna see you won't need a person to work on a field in a couple of years. So with this implementation of AI, uh, it serves some good things and serves some bad purposes, but we were talking at this conference the other day. Uh, Imagine AI being our next food graders, right? So we're going to be depending
Mhm.
on a system that's going to be scanning our meat to see if it's affected or not affected, or if it can spread and cause salmonella and kill the population of people or make people sick. So we're going to be depending on a system rather than a person, and it may sound good for a company to stop that hiring a lot of people to do that, but I trust in a person versus a system. Definitely, that's why I feel like a lot of small farmers would be very successful in the future. And I encourage them to keep going because I mean, having a person that's in a small town and having a small farmer that does that type of business right
Mhm.
there, I think people are going to be more trustworthy over that versus somebody meat that's processed in Walmart, especially being processed or checked on by AI system. And we see it
Yeah.
now. I mean, you see it in the lettuce with the big lettuce
Yeah. In this
issues going
lettuce
on.
pandemic.
Yeah, definitely. That was kind of shocking. So I eat a lot of lettuce, man. So I kind of
Yeah.
backed up on eating lettuce for that on until that backs up. So yeah, it's stuff like that and situations like that to say, hey, it's time to support our small farmers. So a big thing in 2023, I was working with in the congressman office. And one of the big things he kept talking about in his office was, when is the last time your town had a farmers market, right?
Mhm.
So um, I I had to remember there's no there haven't been a big farmers market in my town in a long time. But where I moved to now,
Yeah.
we have our farmers market every other week. But just bringing back farmers market and just uh, just letting people know and encouraging people that you can sell your products to the town, and it's going to be a big impact versus people going to these big bar stores and just stocking up on, especially
Yeah.
stocking up on food. You know.
That's not good. Yeah, even your
Yeah.
point too, like about still encouraging farmers, I think kind of anecdotally, I don't know if it was, I think it was maybe IBM, but to your point, they fired all these engineers, I think, and people hoping to replace AI, and they actually rehired a lot of those people back because you still need a fact checker who's a human, right? And to your point, you still need these farmers to scan, analyze, and grade, if you will, these meats, kind of in your analogy, to say, hey, is this working? Is it not working? Because there's still faults, right? I mean, I've been listening to a few podcasts kind of in regards to AI arms race between the US and China, but kind of extracting that to kind of apply to our situation is that the upside of AI, if it's great, yes, there's still downsides, even if there's a positive outcome, right? And I think people miss that to what you're talking about now is that, that sounds great, right, in theory, but even if it happened, there's still some leakage, there's still faults and fragmentation in that process that many people are, dismissing and not really thinking about. So yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that as well to keep on encouraging them locally, especially the small farmers. Um, you also said too, as we move ahead here, you spent weekends volunteering with a local elderly farmer, learning goat farming, which I think you talked about it earlier. Kind of just small farm operations, day to day reality of working the land at a small scale. And obviously, your job didn't require that. It sounded like that was just something your own initiative you wanted to do. Uh, what kind of made you do that, and what did those weekends give you that maybe your role with NRCS couldn't provide?
Yeah, so, with I guess, when I'm in my NRCS capacity role, it's just meeting a farmer and giving them advice. So, in this capacity, I got to do the hands-on and actually, work with a small farmer on the weekend, which was completely voluntary, like you mentioned, right? And got to see the process of how she, feeds her goats and, take care of her goats on the weekend. And she owns around probably 15 acres, but and probably has around 20 to 15 goats, but that still requires a lot of work.
Absolutely.
Especially she had to make sure they had all their shots, make sure all of the goats are fed correctly. And you're talking about small animals, small ruminant animals, which
Yeah.
can escape small fences and everything. So we're over here on Saturdays trying to chase them, put them back in the fence, and make sure that they're fed. So
Yeah.
that's a job by itself, being a small farmer. And imagine you have to make sure the predators don't get to your animals and snakes, coyotes. So it's a job. It's a big job and a big responsibility especially when becoming a small farmer. That I had to learn that this industry right here, you're going to be doing a good amount of work. You're going to be working in this industry, whether it's in the office or out in the field, right? So, uh, I kinda felt a lot of joy, helping her out and also learning the process when it came to, uh, taking care of those type of animals, goats, right? And
Mhm.
I learned a lot. I didn't know that you couldn't touch the baby when it's birthed out of his mom, like, the second it's birthed, because if you
Yeah.
touch it, then the
Disowned.
mom who reject the baby is disown it.
Yeah.
So it was kinda crazy that it was something that it was something that's something right there. I didn't know that. So, I like that. So we had to make sure that the baby was separated from his mom for a little bit, with touching with his gloves, and, the ones that we did touch, the mom rejected it, so we had to bottle feed the baby for a couple months, which was fun. I mean, it's
That's a
one.
cool experience.
I call him James. His It's James the jumper. So James is my middle name, and he jumps a lot. So
Yeah.
every time I open up my truck, James will just jump in my truck, jump on the table, jump in my lap. So that's it's a funny animal. So it brings you joy, and it also teaches you a lot of stuff when taking care of goats. And yeah, pretty much the whole 9 yards. She had the forestry, timber trees, and
Mhm.
the fish ponds and the animals, Great Pyrenees to take care of the animals. So it was a good time. I always have a good time going to a farm and also help her out because it's a lot of the average farmer right now in this world is around 70 years old to 80 in our 80s. So that's a very, very old age when you look at that number.
Crazy
Uh,
stat.
yeah, so and a lot of folks are just that's that age has been on it all their life or just retired and picked up that hobby, with been a small scale farmer or, like I said, owned all these thousands of acres since they were 30s and just did that pretty much all their life.
Mhm.
So, that's something that, hopefully we can get that changed and the youth can dive into that. So,
Yeah.
it was really pretty much joy having the doctor out, the former out, Dr. Thomas. I had a real good time on her farm, and I'm still helping her out and taking care of it, helping her out every other weekend and learning more about small scale farming. Uh, and also kinda, like, opened doors for me uh, to do
Mhm.
a small garden, or a little bit of a community garden in Brunswick, Georgia. And right now, we started last year with doing raised beds and doing a small plot garden where we grow a little bit of field corn and peas and everything. And now
Mm,
we're working on a little bit of a project now. We started last week. We're doing aquaculture where we're going to introduce native fishes um in this tank. You want to be growing fish, raising fish, and also growing a lot of lettuces. I think around we have 300 holes to plant these lettuce. So we should have 300 bushels of lettuce produced in about a month. So and
hell yeah,
it'll
man.
be
Love
grown
that.
through the fish feed through the fish tank and the fish feed. It's an amazing process, the aquaculture project. So very excited, man, and definitely love what I do outside of NRCS, helping out the community out.
Yeah, man, it's good experience, man. That's good behind the scenes stuff you're learning at a small scale, and just tools that you can add right to your repertoire, and to see kind of the real reality of how to do this farming thing in different avenues. So I'm loving the kind of community garden, doing your own thing, and getting your own food. So that's always exciting to hear when people are doing that. Moving forward here too, Chris, you talked about the value of small farms and the people who manage limited acreage, um, but have enormous potential for innovation and sustainability, right? Great question for you. What do you, I guess maybe in your perspective, what do small farms understand about the land that large scale, right, industrial agriculture has lost? And secondly, why does that knowledge matter for the future of food? Real quick, I want to tell you about something I created because honestly, I needed it myself. For years, I could visualize the life I wanted. I could talk about it, write about it, even teach pieces of it. But living it, that was different. There was always this internal friction, like a part of me was trying to grow, and another part of me pulled me back into what felt familiar. And I realized I didn't have a motivation problem. I had a safety problem. My nervous system didn't know how to feel safe inside change. So I wrote the self-discovery blueprint, not as another productivity guide, but as a way to create internal conditions where growth doesn't feel like a threat. It's grounded in neuroscience, polyvagal theory, belief reconstruction, and everything I've learned from studying consciousness and embodiment. It's for people who know there's more in them, who can see it, but haven't quite trusted themselves to step all the way in yet. And I'm giving it to you free. No email gates, no upsells, just a tool I hope serves you in the way writing it served me. Check the show notes, download it, come back to it as you grow.
Ooh, so I guess the small farmers have what's the difference between small farmer and a large farmer? Is that the small farmers kind of understand that, hey, I'm not going to be feeding the world, right? I'm going to be feeding myself, my neighbor, and possibly the community if I do a community garden. But the significance, what I like about the small farmers is that. A lot of these folks aren't near their nearest Walmart or nearest Kroger, so they're not
Mm-hmm.
they're probably in the country in the middle of probably nowhere. Uh, nothing is not no grocery stores nearby, so their only choice is to do some homestead growing. And why I'm so passionate about that is because they know what they're growing is not they're feeding their animals of how they want to feed their animals and eat and
Right.
so when they harvest or uh, process the meat or harvest those small gardens that they're planting, they know where it came from and it's more I guess it's a more pride in their spirit because
Mm-hmm.
they uh, they feel a sense of hard work once they which is it is a hard work tending and taking care of that land. So their reward is eating good and eating healthy in a good way. With and versus a large farmer, you know that's really more about production and trying to get this product to feed the world. So it's 2 different fields, and, that's why I kinda like I said, I like my position in where I'm working in right now, helping, the small farmers and, the small producers that's doing it for hobby, but also, you know, they can make some extra cash on the side, that's good, but it's really just hobby and for the love of what they're doing instead of for profit, so, uh Yeah, it's great working with the farmers, and it's kinda like when they call us in the field, we're their doctor, basically. We're trying to
Yeah,
give
pretty
them
much.
a prescription with the different medication that we have on our list to help them better, me help their farm in their way because they're confused, they're frustrated, they're confused, on why their operation is not working the way they want,
Mhm.
so they're trying to make it more efficient, so we give them the best and efficient ways to, enhance their farm, and also, like I said, solve a lot of conservation problems on their property, so it's we give them a they give us the outcome, we give them the income to get
Exactly.
those grades, yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's a good it's a good win-win all around, man, for the value that you guys are giving and making sure that they're taken care of and vice versa. You guys are doing your purpose, right, to better the future for, like I said, farming and especially the small farmers too that need the help. From what it sounds like, and just from what we read that, they're kind of left out, so they need that help. They want to be more efficient, make a profit, make a living. Real quick, whether you're working with the land or looking to build a career with real impact, Christopher Epps shows us what's possible when you work with nature instead of against it. For local farmers wanting to reduce chemical costs and improve soil health, or individuals looking to get involved in local agriculture conservation, go to the show notes to connect with Christopher's work through the NRCS and his upcoming youth initiatives. Learn how to make your land and your future more sustainable today. I want to transition, man, to your kind of really your time in the farm bill, right? The lobby, and really the long game of policy, right? That we're going to kind of get into, which you're obviously excited to in the future. So you lobbied right at the state capitol for educational funding before most people your age were even thinking about policy. And what kind of put you in those rooms? And what did you learn about the government? Or rather, learn about how the government actually works, that you couldn't have not learned from the outside from that
Yeah,
experience.
so with government, I've always been infatuated with the process of government politics and how it runs. Like I said, I wanted to be a lawyer. My goal is to be an attorney, a lawyer in the future, ag attorney. So still got some years on waiting to go to school for that.
Yep.
But policy is my gig, and I thought I wanted to just be a politician. But I also learned over the years when I stepped into the lobbying and policy uh, field was that the politicians are there to just vote on the bill. The people that makes the real rules and the real deals are the lobbyists that talks and
Mhm.
educates the politicians on the bill because farm bill is going to be this 1,000 pages that some congressmen read. I mean, you got some congressmen that read some of this, but a lot of people that interpret this bills to them are the lobbyists, the NGOs that talk to the congressman and educates. Oh, this is what this mean. This is what that
Yep.
mean. It basically breaks it down, and that's why I like to educate folks on what the importance of something is and why they should vote for this. And you have some people that says no to some of the stuff you present to them, and some people are like, "Oh, I'm 100% in this. You know, I agree with this, and this is very important and vital to America." Right. I started in junior year of college. I worked with my institutional investment office at Alcorn State University, and I well, kind of rewind. Actually started with the city of Jackson, Mississippi,
Mhm.
with the lobbyist Quincy McCurrow. Did 2 months with him, and then I met my VP at my school, which is the Office of Advancement, Dr. Marcus Ward. He kind of introduced me into Alcorn State University's lobbyist or governmental affairs office. He was like, "Chris, you're working for Jackson, Mississippi. You could just be working for the school, right? You can lobby for the school." So I was already the vice president of the Student Government Association at the time. So it was like, okay, I do love Alcorn State University. Alcorn has gave me a lot of opportunities
Yeah,
so I can lobby
resources.
and make sure that my school, I can show some love for my school and make sure that the bills are getting passed through the Senate and through.
Mhm.
the House of the House of Representatives in Mississippi to support my school. So it was kind of a learning game at first. Really was cool. A lot of politicians, a lot of people really, a lot of lobbyists really talked to me. I talked to a lot of people and met a lot of people throughout the process. Talked to a lot of politicians to lobby for our school. Went out to dinners to talk to them, and very just had a good time, and learning the process of lobbying. Then the second year, it was kind of
Yeah.
smooth.
Yeah. Different
This
game.
a different game. A lot of people already knew me on the tape on the uh, in the session from the last legislative session. So it was pretty much just putting my name out there and learning more and making sure that my school was getting the adequate amount of funding, which we got a lot of bills passed through the House and the Senate. Um,
Mhm.
but it was just an overall learning experience, right?
For sure.
And I guess the kind of my senior year of college, I was the SGA president then. So I was still I took a break during the fall. In the spring, I went back to lobbying, but in the fall, I met the congressman of our district, Congressman Benny Thompson, and went up to him and was like, "Hey, man, I want to work for. I want to intern for you." So he told me, "Okay, just put your name and number on a sheet of paper." Put it on a sheet of paper, and 2 weeks later, a staff member called and said had an intern with Congressman Thompson that
Yeah.
summer. So it was like I was like, wow, this is amazing. I mean, yeah, I could take it. Yeah, I could be in DC for a couple months.
Yep.
That kind of didn't know. It was kind of blindsided. So I thought I was just going to be interning for him, but not working and giving input on the 2023, well,
Yeah.
at the time 2023 Farm Bill, uh, as he was the Farm Bill president or the leader of the Farm Bill task force team. So kind of working with USDA leaders that was what you call it? They were kind of like the not interning, but was kinda like a lead task force,
Mhm.
USDA policy team. It was a team of 4, and I got to work with USDA policy team that was tasked to his office. So I was with leadership, introduced leadership before starting with the agency, and got to give a lot of input on the farm bill and what I interpret, and got to meet with a lot of governmental organizations to give them input on and getting educated from them and educating them on the priorities we want to be set. So it was a pretty good experience, and
Yeah.
really overall it's really a lot of networking experiences. Got to meet the Secretary of Agriculture, Tom Vilsack, at the time. Um, Saw him 2 times actually. For our graduation, I didn't even know this is gonna happen, but graduation, he got to speak at our graduation in college, and then
Awesome.
met him again at a meeting in DC. So it was kind of like a good time for me, a great introduction to like, oh, this is really important. And at the same time, I was like, this is going to be me in a couple
Mhm.
15 years. One day, leading this agency, making important decisions to feed billions of people, because the farm bill is not just affecting America, we're affecting this whole world.
Everybody.
So just giving them input on the ideas, and just envisioning myself in the future, I'll be making these calls or doing this in the future with a lot of other my colleagues now, to feed the world it just amazed me around that time of being
Yeah.
an intern and doing all this policy work. So yeah, I fell in love with policy and just slowly making my way back, but just want to, like I said, get the foot on the ground, learn about the ag, learn about the farmers, and eventually get back in that field of policy.
Yeah, it's only gonna be beneficial, man. It's only gonna be beneficial by all means.
Yeah,
But man, it's awesome to see just the progression, who you were connecting with. You know, that first year you kind of just learning, but that second you came back around like, look, I'm the man. Look, you need to let me get that internship. And obviously you came through. So those who are listening, stay close with Chris. man, it sounds like he's gonna be the next man in line when it comes to this policy and ag, and obviously well connected, man, well educated, and doing your thing. You actually spoke in a kind of head and kind of took my next question, which is completely fine because I was going to talk about you were obviously a policy analyst on the 2023 Farm Bill, and I won't make you maybe repeat your answer, but obviously you kind of touched on what it meant to actually work on the legislation at that scale, right at that age, and knowing that you're going to have your fingerprint or did have your fingerprint on something that was going to affect millions who will never know your name, or at least at that moment as you were doing that. So I know that was probably monumental, right, within your career. Kind of put a stamp on something within your resume, going forward. So it was cool just to hear your input about having that impact and being able to affect millions of people because it's not like you said, it's not just local. This is worldwide. Um, with the farm bill.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Definitely enjoyed that process. Like I said, it was a great learning experience. Being in DC and just being learning the environment of DC. It was eye opener as well, Koi. Just learning how people works, how
Hmm.
the city is by itself. It's a lot of people that's you have to be you have to you know people do what you're doing as well and just being very cautious, but uh really just finding the right mentor person to that you could talk to outside of DC and also
Yeah.
within when you come back because I mean these people they if you get with the right person, the right career person has been through the process over and over and has been there for a couple of years. Listen, that's the right person to stay connected with. That's kind of when I got connected with somebody in DC and still hold them as a mentor and talk to them
Hmm.
dearly. Biggest advice they really told me was to go get run the field, get on the field, and then come back and talk about because you're talking about something. A lot of people just getting their degrees in politics and say, "Oh, I want to work for the USDA," which is
Yeah.
great, but have you been on the field? Have you done the work?
Exactly.
So
Disconnected.
it's yeah, so it's definitely getting on the field, learn doing the work, and then contributing in the future of how policy will shape this particular field of ag. So definitely
Yeah.
excited. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Awesome. You described obviously the farm bill as favoring large AI and big tech agriculture players in the ways that create real challenges for small farmers. Um, what is actually happening there, if you're able to share, and what does that mean for the future of the small scale and independent agriculture in America?
So, just a little bit of my intake on the farm bill. It's just like I said, it's just a lot of AI, a lot of technology, and a lot of big farms, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that small scale would be okay to some extent. It's just whenever the citizens and people, like I said, realize how everything is being processed on a large scale, right? Uh,
Hmm.
so I think that small scale farmers should continue to do what they're doing, right? Their job is not to feed the world, like I said. Their job is only to feed their family, to do homesteading, and if they have any leftovers, hey, I can feed my community. Like a lady I work for Home Depot part time. So this lady, she does she does a chicken farm, right? And
Yeah.
she's like, I have so many eggs, I cannot eat this. So I want to sell these eggs for $4 to my coworkers here at the work. So I mean that's something like that. In an example, so that's the purpose of our small scale. You do have small scale farmers that feed that wants to feed the world, and let's say the big cities, right? Small scale farmers aren't just um, feeding themselves at all either. They're feeding or selling their products to restaurants. So every
Hmm.
small scale farmers have their purpose and their niche of customers of who they are feeding, who they are feeding to and providing to. I think the biggest thing is just making sure that small scale farmers continue to know that this is their customers and you're still succeeding in this field of farming, but you just have a particular set of customers. And what small scale farmers, a lot of people, like I said, tend to either knowing the farmers market or they're tending to restaurants. Like where I live at down here in Georgia, you have a lot of microgreen farmers and
Yep. Yep.
mushroom shiitake growers that's down here. So their main customers are the restaurants. They're selling to the 5-star restaurants or those uh, fancy diner restaurants that say, "Oh, we got microgreens locally grown," or
Yep.
um, so and to say that's another thing. Like things like locally grown or organic, USDA certified organic, that jumps the prices up on a
Yeah,
lot
it
of
does.
stuff. And that's what a lot of our small farmers are doing. They're just saying, "Oh, I can get USDA organic. I can jack my price up on my pineapple." Even knowing my farm isn't as big as the lower scale farmer, but this my product is taken care of probably better, I can say, and I've not put any pesticides in this because I really tended to my small scale farming. But I'm also going to make ends meet because my fruit is now a better price than uh, the large farm in Minnesota. So
Yeah.
that's kinda just favoring with the market, knowing the market of agriculture and, knowing how to play it, when it comes to, helping farmers. And luckily with the USDA, we have these, support organizations and our sub-agencies that help farmers, small scale to large scale, understand their product and how to sell it and make a profit. We have our agriculture marketing agency, uh, you have foreign service agency. If you want to sell import your fruits and vegetables outside
Mhm.
the United States, you can do that. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just so many agencies you have within the USDA that supports farmers and gives us resources on how to successfully handle our business. So, yeah,
Yeah. Awesome, man. Yeah, I love it. Um, you're also pursuing a master's in public policy, right?
yes.
Administration and considering law school, which you've obviously talked about throughout the podcast, on top of everything else that you're already doing, right? And carrying. A question for you, man, Chris, like what is driving that? And like what do you believe you'll be able to do, right, with those credentials that you cannot do without them, or may, you know, be beneficial in the future?
So I think the public policy and administration degree will definitely give me the opportunity to become an admin within my organization if I choose to stay within the USDA,
Hmm.
or if I want to get my law degree, I can become an ag attorney, do some overseas. I could do overseas at foreign agriculture work with my
Yeah.
MPA, but the attorney degree makes me more marketable, and I can do pretty much everything when it involves ag finance. Uh,
Hmm.
with the foreign service, uh, it's basically everything when it comes to
Yeah.
law degrees. Law degrees is like a you have a law degree, you can do anything basically,
Yeah.
technically. So,
It, And I was gonna say, it sounds like getting that, like just hearing you, it's like you've done, if not done, but you're doing everything you almost need to do, like from a ladder perspective. And a law degree just encapsulates everything. So now you can go to law and protect and defend, farmers or certain bills. So it's like I've done everything from policy to administration to be on the groundwork. Now my law degree is like, look, I've done the whole gamut. So I know the ins and outs. I can read, right, policies and know what's real and what's not, what's BS. So yeah, I mean, I guess jumping in here, just saying that, hey, it sounds like that's really going to elevate your game and where you want to go career wise.
Yes, definitely, definitely. It's definitely going to be up my game, and the MPPA degree just it's just with that policy and sticks with the policy and administrative roles. So, like I said, if I did that degree, I'll just be within a leader in the agency. So, uh, like I said, I'm pushing forward for the law degree, and want to get towards that, push towards that. Once I'm gonna kind of wait, take the test next year, and enroll in that. I just love what I'm doing now. It's to a point that seeing a smile on farmers and landowners' faces it brings joy to my heart. So, you're never too old to go to law school. Just something that I heard. So, definitely have time for that, in the space for that. So, uh, yeah, that's education and being a learner is something that I will always be. So, this degree has taught me a lot. Now I'm definitely ready to use it to my degree when it comes to interpreting policy a little bit more better and understanding how to budget and be a budget a department one day too,
Yeah.
and become an administrator for at the agency one day.
Yeah. Well, man, that's myself included, but everyone from the Life Is podcast, man, we wish you the best when you do get the law degree, because I know that'll be time consuming. But obviously, you're a learner, right? I think other people I've talked to throughout the podcast. Some of them have PhDs, and just the evolution, knowing that hey, even when you get your doctorate, right, or your master's or your law degree, the education doesn't stop, right? Many times people think that's the final chapter, but like you're just beginning. Like what I mean, that's education is never has a cap on it. You're always withdrawing more out of yourself, learning more through education. So I love that. From I would say one learner to another, just having that passion and intensity to want to still learn and get better and find other ways to be more valuable within your field. So I want to shift gears here again, kind of more to your aquaculture and the kind of the next generation as you're talking about your nonprofit um, that you mentioned kind of back in Brunswick, but you're planning a nonprofit kind of focused on bringing AI and aquaculture education to youth in Brunswick, which is really kind of a usual and kind of unique combination. What made you land on those two things, and what do you see happening to young people in agriculture communities who do not get access to this type of education?
Yeah, so definitely, I started this organization in the fall, and pretty much ready to fully launch the program actually.
Yeah,
So this fall, so basically, I know I found a shortage, like I discussed earlier with the youth, disconnected with the youth, not truly going into the agriculture field. A lot of people are not they're just turning away from this field.
right.
So I think one of my principles was like if we start out the youth young and teaching them about this field of agriculture, you're gonna find more younger folks in the future to take to love this field and try to get into the field when they become young adults. So one of my goals from our organization is to teach the youth around Brunswick, but eventually this world, spread this organization around worldwide, is to teach the youth about agriculture, uh, and also AI, and just give them small projects within the community when it comes to doing a community garden, doing an aquaculture, fish tank projects, and
Mhm.
also just giving them done as like a program cohort program for the youth around to participate in this program and learn how our food is being processed or grown, uh, and also learn about the AI knowledge so they can be efficient in this field and outsmart an AI system, right?
Yeah, that's
So,
true.
or at least know the system, so they can be in the future have the job positions to either is better has a job position that's taking care of AI or administrative AI, or in the form or doing something when it comes to the agriculture field. So that's my hopes for the organization, and I've been working with a lot of people in Brunswick to find the youth, to find the young individuals that'll be a part of this cohort so we can launch this in the fall. And the main goal, like I said, would be teaching them how to take care of how to take care of land. And one of our projects is that is the community garden. And within these different
Mhm.
weeks, within the cohort, we're going to be having technology folks, farmers, to do Zoom calls to come out to the school to talk to the young kids about farming and telling them stories on how they took care of their property and their land and how they for many years kept their land and what they've done to their land so kids can know the value of land, right? Land is
Mhm.
important, and how to how to save up and put 10% down on a property on ag land. So that's all you need is 10%. So you have $100,000 a property land, you get that 10% down, and you pretty much in good hands. You have
Mm,
6% of the world's property, and now you're a owner, right? So
didn't know
just
that.
learn just teaching that to the kids, and uh teaching them, putting that in their minds, so in the future they can be a big ag a business man and woman that they can be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
making sure it's accessible. I didn't know that. It got me thinking. You said 10%. Okay, that's all you need. Just a little 10%, little
Yeah.
ownership. But
Uh-huh.
no, man, having those field days are important, right? Having those ag field days, getting hands-on experience from people who are actually doing it in the field. And then I love your point of just making it simple, like getting simple projects. So I think that's where you need to start. I was speaking to another guest on here from a different field, but to the whole point of, here's the bigger vision, right? As you being the founder of this, here's my bigger vision of what I want this to look like. But let's just take it down, like, maybe quarter by quarter or year by year. And how can I give you a project that's simple enough? You were talking about the fish farming or lettuce, and let you learn that first to get confident, get comfortable, start asking the right questions, and then we can kind of scale this forward. But giving them something that they can gain some confidence and not make it so broad and so um, big in a sense that they can't believe it's doable, right? And I think that's important for having kids when you have them join in. You said that you said that AI and green tech are kind of essentially in the same conversation. That optimizing, farming through technology and optimizing for environmental health are not in conflict, but pointing in the same direction. If you can kind of unpack that for us, because I think most people hear AI in agriculture and think of an industrial scale and not really sustainability.
Mm. Yeah, so definitely, I think you have some good uses for AI, you have some bad uses for AI. And one of the good uses, like you said, sustainability is one of the biggest plays we need to have when it comes to scaling in an ag field. So I'm glad you brought the sustainability part up, because you have some sort of definitely need sustainability on a um, forestry field or a crop field with this carbon
Hmm.
sequestration. You have companies are buying carbon points and credits for their organization. So that's one thing you can pinpoint to sustainability. But also you have some people that's doing inside farming. They're doing vertical row farming, farming in these large facilities, um, that that depends on LED lighting to help grow their farm as well. And it's more of an efficient way of farming as well, and a quick way for farming as well too, that I did not discuss because I'm a soil conservationist and we work outside. But this is something that I kind of like too, and I wish we could work with these farmers as well, working with the people that has these indoor facilities and growing a lot of these vegetables, and all of these vegetables that are susceptible to a lot of water. Uh,
Yep.
doing it. So one of the biggest things is saving energy and making sure that they're not going over a certain amount of energy that affects their bill within the end of the month. So sustainability plays a large part of what they use, what type of lights they use, what type of equipment they use, what how efficient they're optimizing their water to distribute in the distribution of the plants that they're growing. And one thing that's a good thing about this type of farming versus like a row crop farming is they know that they're going to have they can dictate their yield, right? A lot of plants won't die because of uh, they're distributing the right amount of water. They're
Hmm.
basically taking care of their precipitation in their facility, because they could set the temperature of how they want to set it. So if they come up with a system that they see that they have a 99.5% yield rate of plants, they're going to keep doing the same thing over and over and over, which and they can ship out a large quantity of their product to feed the world as well. So that's one thing when it comes to sustainability, when it comes to farming as well. But there's a lot of farmers doing this vertical or farming. And one thing that I mentioned as well, aquaculture, right? Aquaculture, you're doing two things at once. You're doing fish farming and you're feeding your plants all of this. You're feeding your plants that's susceptible to water that you can do, like your lettuce, your tomatoes,
Mhm.
growing those plants in these systems that's taking all this water in and growing in this fast amount of time because all a plant needs to grow is water and nutrients. And fish provides that aquaculture, the big tank, it provides that water and the nutrients from the fish, which is the nitrogen and that fish oil that's feeding those plants a lot of water to make it grow in a large amount of time. And if you put 300 hose in a pipe, make 300 hose for piping, you're definitely feeding a lot of families around the area in a small amount of time too. So
Yeah.
that's something that's very important. And when it comes to having a nonprofit that once you have that mindset of you can do this, and this is just one system. If you build
Exactly.
3 or 4 systems, you can feed 900 families or 400 families, depending on how much lettuce someone wants,
Yeah.
but
Now it
vegetables they
multiplies.
want. Yeah, but it definitely multiplies, and you're feeding a lot of families, which is the main goal is to feed families healthy foods, healthy food system instead of uh, making them keep eating bad food from the shops and the gas stations.
Yeah, yeah. No, absolutely, man. Yeah, implementing those systems, getting more dialed in definitely helps optimize the whole process, and then, trying to make that duplicable, sustainable, and, replicating it as well in different applications. Speaking of AI too, man, you're personally taking AI courses and actively seeking partnerships to expand, right, youth opportunities in agriculture tech, learning alongside, the kids that you wanna teach. Um, what kinda drives that specifically, and what has surprised you the most about AI as you've gotten deeper into it?
Yeah, so I've taken a certificate course in AI, and basically just teaching me a lot with that course is the data behind uh, uh, how, how people use data and how people can tell a storyline with using data, right? So we're using AI mechanisms to look at previous data, to combine them with the data we have in this world today, and to see how can we formulate this big plan, right, of data and kind of dictate what will happen in the future, basically from the data. It's just like the market, like the S&P 500. It's just a big data plump of you see in 1975, you saw the market was like this. Historically, it goes down and just keep
Mhm.
going flip flop. So you can kind of dictate based on that data how your future of your funds you put in the S&P 500 how it is. So it's kind of like that. You're betting. You're looking at how the field one, crop field one looked at past in the past through the soil maps from 1970s, and you're just going towards the future, telling the data using AI mechanisms to kind of dictate the future of how successful the plants will grow, and your yield you will have in 2020. That's in 2033 when if you plant peanuts instead of corn. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the mechanisms we're using right now within a data course. It's a data analytics course, and AI does play out a huge part of that. And I think that field of data analytics and data analytics all together, that field right there is definitely important, and something we will see in ag. I think we have a lot of agriculture positions that or agriculture companies that are offering data analytics positions that wants people to solely interpret and tell the business
Yeah.
owners, I want you to present to us each week or each month the data that we're getting in this company so we can, and I want you to explain it to us in a simple, broken down fact so we could see how we can strive and make this company better in the next quarter.
Yeah. Yeah, man, it's important. I
Yeah.
think using AI for that, looking at, to your point, data points, right? Even KPIs of what happened back then till now, using the AI to analyze, kind of pattern recognize what's working, kind of the probability what's going to happen, testing the soil now, right, compared to maybe some soil back in the past, and seeing that differences. All that creates a better output, a better prediction of what can happen and how to then also adjust if needed based on plant soil or nutrients or seeds of what needs to be kind of calibrated overall. One thing before we continue, Christopher is proving that the future of agriculture lives at the intersection of AI, sustainability, and youth empowerment. If your business, ag tech company, or foundation is looking to partner on initiative youth education and AI and aquaculture, reach out directly. Connect with Christopher Epps to invest in the next generation of agricultural leaders and drive real, ground level innovation. Tap the link in the show notes to start the conversation. All right, so I want to kind of ask you, right? Overall, man, as we wrap up here, Chris, man, you grew up running a landscape business in Mississippi, completed agriculture policy in FFA, played college football at Alcorn State on a federal USDA scholarship, became a soil conservationist, right, helping farmers save thousands of dollars while restoring the land. You shaped the 2023 Farm Bill and are now building a nonprofit to make sure the next generation does not get left behind, right? When you kind of look at that full spectrum, that full arc of your whole experience up to this point, my question for you is, what do you know now about what it means to build a life that is actually aligned with what you love?
I think there's total and all just doing what you love basically in life is the best thing of it creates a lot of happiness in life, right? So that's why I just stuck with this field and stuck what I do right now because I love it. If I hated this hated this gig or this field right here, I'll be I won't be on this call with you, right? Because
Absolutely.
it's not my passion. But this is truly my passion. I love working with landowners and farmers, and I know the overall goal. The overall goal is to continue to have this nation to be fed, and it's something that I'll be proud of. I know that when I look at a lot of food that we eat, I say, listen, this is something that my organization had to stamp and say USDA approved before feeding millions of Americans. And also, I know that one of the farms that I worked on, they grew this to feed the nation, or they grew this to feed this particular get provided to a restaurant to feed these particular people, which is a very good joy. And seeing just private landowners come to me and smile and just thanking me for helping them with their land, scribing on their land brings great joy to my heart. And I'll continue to have this type of joy because it's something that I love, and continue. Definitely want to, hopefully, definitely want to continue to strive and expand on this knowledge and help millions and hundreds of thousands of landowners continue to have their land to have their land goals definitely answered, and definitely a lot of calls from hundreds of thousands of landowners to call in my office to have us to
Mm-hmm.
help them as well. So
Yes,
definitely,
sir.
I'm a big junkie of keeping farmland, and helping people help the land as well.
Yeah, man, that's a good way. That's a good way to put it, man. I love that. Kind of a curveball here, right? Next question, really for someone listening right now, and really as I'm speaking here and just thinking out loud, this could be either your younger self or just someone maybe within your nonprofit, right? These young kids, um, maybe a young person in agriculture who does not see a path forward that makes sense, or someone who wants, to do the work that actually matters, but does not know how to connect the dots. What would you say to that person kind of stepping into this field of agriculture, or want to make a path for themselves?
Ooh, so I would say definitely go into, uh, take your ag classes in a career technical center, or
Hmm.
go to your school's career technical center and ask to join the ag class, right, or take an agriculture course if offered. Because if I wasn't introduced to that, then I wouldn't have been able to go into this field. But when I was a little boy, fifth grade, all I talked about, well, I'm gonna be the president of the United States. I can be the president of the United States. So that
Right.
was kind of like everybody talked to me. And it came out of my mouth. I was like, this boy crazy. He ain't gonna
Right.
be
Right.
no president. That's still hope, but you could you can become president, or you can be in different a different field and become president of the United States. I mean, the sky's the limit, but uh, you got to have some type of foundation. And my foundation is agriculture, helping the people, helping the world. And I did that through the Career Technical Education Center at my school, getting in touch with the ag teacher, having her as a mentor,
Hmm.
and sticking beside her, getting her mentorship and her guidance in high school. Definitely encouraged me to step into the ag world and college, and eventually doing this in a professional level, and starting my nonprofit to spread my seeds to make a lot of trees grow. The seeds I want to plant, I don't want to just plant no tulips. I want to plant oak trees so they can
Exactly.
stay for hundreds and hundreds of years. So when I taught and help these young folks out, I'm not talking to them to just build them up for a season. I'm trying to build them up for a lifetime.
Yeah, yeah, man. That sounds like someone who wants to take the next generation forward, man. Like you said, you're not doing it for today. I'm doing it for the next generations to come, man. That's amazing, man, to have that mindset. So next question here, man. For those who are tuning in, right, who've been with us this whole ride, where can people find you, Chris? Follow your work, stay connected with you, and what you're building.
Wow. So I am on limited platforms right now, but
Yeah.
go grow my looking to grow my platform. But for my nonprofit, you can definitely get me at EppsAIF.org. It's EPPSAIF.org. Now you can look at more of my work and what we do as an organization, and support my mission, our mission for the Christopher Epps a Agriculture Innovation Foundation, where we help all the young folks strive in agriculture, automate AI, and also help young folks thrive in learning the sense of agriculture, how to grow and tend to the land as well. Also, you can
Hmm.
definitely reach out to me on LinkedIn, Christopher James Epps, and my Facebook, Christopher Epps as well, if you want to look into more future work as well. But we are definitely growing, hopefully growing, like I said, this oak trees, and spreading the seeds of joy to everybody in this community of Brunswick, Georgia, and hopefully around the world in the future, and spreading the goodness of agriculture and the importance of this field as well.
Yeah, awesome. Well, we'll make sure, as always, we'll put that in the show notes for those who get connected that want to, learn about, like I said, learn more about your work, your nonprofit, and also maybe just learn from you, right? Those who are either growing up, young professionals, or those who even in their careers that want to kind of bounce some ideas. And we'll make sure to plug that in and get your work out there because truly, man, I believe, which is why I wanted to reach out to you and, just personally having the show is you're doing real work, right? And like I said, beyond that, not only do you have the knowledge experience, but you actually have the passion behind it to say, hey, I'm gonna, keep fighting for what this is. You believe in it.
Yes.
So my last question, man, the famous question of the podcast, and we're on the Life Is podcast, as you know, and I always ask every guest, but I'm going to ask you as well. If I asked you, Christopher, man, life is blank, right? And I left it blank, whatever phrase or word or whatever you want to plug on that back end, what would you fill in on that question?
I would say life is amazing, Coy.
That's right. It is, man. It is. And there's a lot of great things that can happen, especially to your point when you're in a field that you love, and you're driven to see it grow. So yeah, man, it's short and sweet. Life is amazing, and nothing short of it, man. You're not wrong in that regard. But from here, man, I just want to say, man, Christopher, man, I appreciate your time, just your willingness, man, just your willingness to come on the show and share your experience, share your journey, and share really the impact that you're doing now and continue to do going into the future. And from my end, man, I just want to say I show you some appreciation for coming on. So thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, hey, we're gonna let you get back to it. Do your thing out there in the South and Georgia and across the world, man. And we'll see you on the other side as you continue to excel in your field and do great work.
All right. Bye bye.
All right, take care. Christopher Epps started mowing lawns in Mississippi as a kid and built that into a landscaping business before he was old enough to drive. He was competing in agricultural policy debates in middle school while most kids his age were focused on everything but policy. He went on to college on a full federal USDA scholarship because he understood early on that the land and the systems that govern it were where the work that mattered most was going to happen. And now he is a soil conservationist in Brunswick, Georgia, walking on 1,300 acre farms and having conversations that result in $150,000 in savings in a single season. Not through a mandate, not through enforcement, through trust, through knowledge, and through the patience to stay in the room until something shifts. That is what conservation actually is. That is what policy actually requires. That is what leadership looks like when it is rooted in the ground rather than performed from above. And he is already playing the next chapter, a nonprofit to make sure the kids growing up in agriculture communities in his city do not get left behind by the AI transformation reshaping their industry. He is not waiting for someone else to build that bridge. He is learning alongside the people he wants to teach. That is not a career story. That is a coherence story. Internal coherence is the infrastructure of a well-designed life, and Christopher Epps has been laying that infrastructure since he was a kid with a lawnmower and something to prove. Until next time, I'll see you in the next episode. That's a wrap on today's episode of the Life Is podcast. If something in this conversation landed for you, a shift in perspective, a reminder, or something you needed to hear, don't let it stay there. Take it with you, put it to work. If you're ready to go deeper, I have tools built specifically for this journey, a self-discovery blueprint and a diagnostic designed to show you exactly where your foundation needs attention. Links are in the show notes. And if this episode added value, share it with someone who's building, leave a review, help us grow this community of intentional people doing real work. Remember, fulfillment isn't found, it's built. Life is art in motion, and you are the artist. Until next time, keep building.